Welcome back, Recovery Wizards. This channel is about providing access, unlocking potential, and accelerating individual transformation. Today, we're going to talk about conscious recovery, which is literally the entire purpose of Recovery Wizards, empowering individuals to experience conscious recovery. So, let's real quick go into our definition, what makes sense for our purposes. Conscious recovery is the process of becoming increasingly more aware of our unconscious beliefs, emotional patterns, and protective strategies that are driving our behavior so that we can become intentional in choosing new ways of thinking, feeling, and living that are in support of our healing, freedom, and alignment with true self. This is conscious recovery. And it's absolutely necessary for us to have this in order to recreate our lives. There are four stages to achieving conscious recovery. Stage one is awareness, becoming the observer of our mind. We know that everything is being created from up here, more and more and more. Some of us may not, but most of us know this. But effectively becoming the observer, that's a little bit different. That takes some work. Why is this so important? Because once we become the observer of our thoughts, our feelings, of our experiences better and better and better, we can now see these things taking place in real time and not attach to them, not attach to these old identities, not judge them, but actually see them. Okay. We are creating the distance between the stimulus and the response. And that distance, that gap is where our power lies. So, stage one is becoming the observer. Now we can move into stage two, which is understanding, seeing the patterns, seeing honestly our own personal liabilities. The reason for this is that we want to be able to observe these so we're not judging them, so we can accept them ultimately. But in that process, we're going to be able to turn those liabilities, those personal liabilities, into personal assets. That is absolutely critical in this process of developing conscious recovery. Moving into stage three, that's regulation. Regulating the chronically dysregulated nervous system. Any of us that are dealing with healing from mental health or addiction, we become accustomed to a dysregulated nervous system. This is that fight, flight, fawn, freeze state, you know. And the situation here is that most of us are dealing with this at an unconscious level. So I want to kind of give a personal example to make sense of this. So for me, I had been diagnosed with panic disorder and, chronic anxiety. I was on all kinds of psychotropic medications. In my life, if you look at it like a spectrum, my nervous system was so far on the extreme end of dysregulation. I would have these panic attacks that I would literally be hyperventilating, convulsing on the floor in a fetal position, not getting oxygen to the brain. That's very, very extreme. Once I started to work through this in my recovery, I got off the medications. I wasn't having these chronic debilitating panic attacks. And I thought I was regulated because I wasn't having that extreme version, but I was still in dysregulation. It wasn't until much later in my recovery that I actually experienced what a regulated nervous system felt like. And it felt like this. Whoa. This is where inner peace and freedom live. So, what I'm trying to get at is that most of us are working at this and we think maybe we're regulated, but often we're not. And our goal is to get into this place where we are consistently approaching life, living life from this state of regulation, this inner peace, this freedom. From that place, we can now effectively move into stage four, which is creation. Literally creating an entirely new life. Creation means having the freedom to choose, the ability to choose new ways of thinking, feeling, living, right? Going back to our definition. Once we're in this state, now we can effectively break these old cycles of self-sabotage because we're all susceptible to the self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, we're all in this, and it's either, the prophecy is going to be positive or negative depending on our predominant internal beliefs. If we are predominantly in the realm of fear-based limiting beliefs, then the experiences in our life are going to confirm those beliefs. So this is what we're dealing with. Okay, just as a review, the beliefs are informing our perspective. Our perspective, our thoughts and feelings are informing our behaviors, our actions. Those actions and behaviors are informing our experiences, our life reality. Those experiences, our life reality, are confirming the beliefs. So that's what we're dealing with. So what we got to do is, through our conscious recovery, now we're going to intercept. We're going to intercept at either the level of behavior or thoughts and feelings. We're going to choose new thoughts and feelings, new behaviors, mainly thoughts and behaviors, really, but that are going to align with a higher level of consciousness, responsibility, courage, love, freedom, support, kindness, integrity, whatever. But as we do that, we're going to be experiencing something different, a different quality of experience. And that new experience is going to cancel out, no longer confirm the old limiting beliefs. What it's actually going to be doing is it's going to be proving the limiting belief invalid, little by little by little. And then sometimes it's going to be like a major situation. Okay. I have taught it in the way that it makes sense to me, and I like to use this little metaphor is thinking of it like chipping away with an axe, at a big old root, right? And we're like chip, 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 chip. And then every now and then something major happens. We make some major opposite action. We walk through some fear. We set some boundary. We do something, right? It's unique to us. But then it's like taking the axe and going, freeing ourselves from that limitation altogether. We feel this somatically in our bodies. We feel lighter. It's gone. And once that limiting belief is gone, our life is no longer going to reflect it back to us anymore. It's not going to be a part of us. This is what's happening, turning these liabilities into assets. But this is the practical way of looking at this. And the way that we achieve conscious recovery, at least the way that we teach it with Recovery Wizards, is through the evolving treatment plan, which I made videos on that. But knowing that we're dealing with these 4 different aspects, the spiritual, the mental, the emotional, and the physical, they all have their own situation going on, and we must build a sufficient strategy to correct each one of them because they're a system, right? And if one aspect of the system is off, it's going to affect everything else, holding us back. We work these strategies simultaneously, we are going to unlock conscious recovery, and we will recreate our entire lives. Till next time, Recovery Wizards, much love.